Well, good morning. So glad you're here today. And we're going to be looking at lesson number 11 in our book of Moses and Joshua. We're kind of accentuating the theme of mentoring this quarter, and going through some things and talking about that. Any prayer requests before we get going today? Okay, I will give you at least a early heads up. Adam Key and his wife attend with us. They sit usually over with the Forshaws over in this area back over here. His father, Jack Key, was just placed in hospice care, and know that they would appreciate your prayers in their behalf. And then also Leonard Harris. He is the husband of Tina Harris. Leonard's sister passed away somewhat unexpectedly yesterday, so you can. Okay, good. Okay, that's Sandy's husband. Okay, so good news on that. Making it through the surgery. Anything else that we should mention? All right. Well, oh yes, Sydney. Yeah, I don't remember a married name, but I don't know of any. Haven't heard any news other than Wednesday night had started to improve just a little bit. They changed the bottle that they were feeding the baby with, and she was able to take a couple of ounces, and that was the most she had taken at any time. So, yeah, Claire is the baby's name. That much. Somebody know their last name? What? Bowser. Okay. All right. So there you go. There'll be a quiz on that afterwards. All right. All right. Let's bow for prayer then. Father, we are thankful for the good news of Christine's son-in-law coming through the surgery. Just pray that you'll continue to be with him as he recovers. We are mindful of Adam Key and his family with his father's situation, that you'll be with him and care for him and give the family comfort during this time. Also be with Leonard and his family at the passing of his sister, that you'll give them comfort and strength. Please continue to be with little Claire Fowler and help her as the doctors are trying to provide the things that are most necessary for her growth and improvement. And we pray that you'll open our eyes today, help us to see the wonderful things you have in store for us in your word, and to rely upon you and trust in you. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, we're actually going to begin our thoughts looking at Deuteronomy Chapter 31 this morning. And as we pointed out before, the book of Deuteronomy means second law. It's the second time the law is going to be read or given to the people who they're just about to go in and possess the land that God had promised to them. This has been 40 years actually in the making to get to this point almost. And God's giving some specifics as to what he wants to be done and how it is to be done. We looked at the first few verses in chapter 31 last week when Moses is telling Joshua about this and going in and to be strong, to be brave, to be courageous. But I want you to drop down to we're looking at verse 9. It says, so Moses wrote, or Deuteronomy 31:9. So Moses wrote this law and delivered it to the priests, the sons of Levi, who bore the ark of the covenant of the Lord, and to all the elders of Israel. And Moses commanded them, saying, at the end of every 7 years, at the appointed time in the year of release at the Feast of Tabernacles, when all of Israel comes to appear before the Lord your God in the place which he chooses, you shall read the law before all Israel in their hearing. Gather the people together, men and women and little ones, and the stranger who is within your gates, that they may hear and that they may learn to fear the Lord your God and carefully observe all the words of the law and that their children who have not known it may hear and learn to fear the Lord your God as long as you live in the land which you cross the Jordan to possess. So, what's the reason for doing this? Every 7 years, gather everybody together and read the law. Why do that? Refresh the memories of those, okay? What else? Teach the ones who didn't know it. What else? Yeah, I mean, it's to keep them doing the things that they ought to do, the warnings, the blessings, the curses. Deuteronomy Chapter 28, the blessings and curses that God has in store for them and given to them and promised to them. Bob, looks like you want to say something. Okay, yeah. So it wasn't like they could just open up their Bible, readily, and just say, okay, you remember over here in Leviticus it says thus and so. So it was to be read and refreshed and given to them day by day. Who is to do this? Who's to see that this is done? The priests are, okay? The priests are told to do this every 7 years when they come together for the Feast of Tabernacles. They would all come to Jerusalem. Okay, everybody's gathered, everybody's here. Who is to be there for this? Men, women, children, and strangers who live in the land. Okay, so everyone come to Jerusalem when they come for this feast, the Feast of the Tabernacles, while they're all gathered together. Now you priests open up and you read the Word of God to these people. So how important is this? Or why is this important? Yeah, Richard. Okay. Yeah, that's exactly right. And you know, sometimes I think we miss the purpose of the Sabbath. I think they miss the purpose of the Sabbath. You remember one of the things that just became such a big deal for them, and they tried to challenge Jesus and his apostles on this, was what occurred on the Sabbath that they thought Jesus was violating over and again? Work. Okay, they thought he was working on the Sabbath. Okay, which he wasn't doing, and he points out, about doing good or doing evil and so on and so forth. But the point of Sabbath, the point of the Sabbath rest, God said there's to be no work on this day. Okay? No work on this day. What it realistically was a release from the freedom of sin and all of the bondage and the burden of sin. And if every Sabbath day, if they would keep in mind what this was all about, it would, rather than be, oh no, we can't work today, oh, we can't do anything, it would have been such a day of thankfulness to God. And then as Richard points out, that on the seventh year was this year of release, which was a holy year in a whole nother aspect, or a whole releasing in that sense of that. And so it's just so vitally important. Read the law, read the word. Every 7 years, make sure you hear this, make sure it's read, make sure it's taught, so that everybody gets this. Now, let's fast forward in our history, and this may be familiar to many of you, but in 2 Kings chapter 22, we're given insight to a time of Israel's history when this very thing was sorely neglected. Josiah is appointed as king, and Josiah is one of the few righteous kings who appears in the history of Israel and Judah. One of the few righteous ones who really tries to do. He issues a decree that the house of God and the worship of God should be restored. That's his purpose. Now, he's appointed as the boy king and grows up in at stages that we think are marvelous, amazing, that this young man has such a heart for God, such a will for God that he wants to do these things. He's trying to restore the temple process, or the process of worship, the house of God, wants to restore and refurbish the whole system of worship. So Hilkiah, the high priest, he finds the word of God that had been lost. Now, how had the word of God been lost? Was it that an enemy nation came in and snatched the word and took it off with them? Is that what happened? No. Was it hidden away in a cave somewhere for safekeeping to make sure that nobody touched it and it wasn't lost? No. Where did he find it? Do you remember? Huh? In the temple, in the house of God, the very place that it should be. Okay? So he finds the lost word of God in the house of God. Who's supposed to be in charge of this? The priests are. And what are the priests supposed to do? Teach this word, know this word, not just every 7 years, but they had day by day appointed responsibilities to keep the people in line. And yet the word of God is lost. The very thing that they should have been using day by day by day. And as Bob pointed out, they didn't have multiple copies. It's not like they had everybody had their own pocket New Testament they carried around with them, or the book of Leviticus around with them. This was lost. And so they find the word of God, in the house of God where it should have been, by the priests of God who should have been doing the teaching and directing the people. If they had done what God said back here in Deuteronomy Chapter 31, would this ever have happened? No, it wouldn't have happened if they had just gone back to the word over and over and over and over again. I mean, it would have been a known thing. It wouldn't have been that the temple fell into shambles and that worship fell into shambles and that Josiah now has to come on the scene and say, we need to restore and do things like it ought to be done. So it's vitally important that we get this and understand just what's going on here. Read the word of God to everyone, man, woman, child, and strangers in the land. So, that sounds like that's a good recipe for success. Look at the next verses now. Verse 14. Then the Lord said to Moses, behold, the days approach when you must die. Call Joshua and present yourselves in the tabernacle of meeting, that I may acknowledge him or inaugurate him. Doesn't verse 14 sound frightening to you if you're Moses? But does that sound frightening to you? Yeah. All right, William wants you to come in here to the tabernacle because you're going to die, okay? He hasn't told him yet that you're going to climb up on the mount. Just you're going to come and you're going to die, and I'm going to inaugurate Joshua. Christine's right. We all know we're going to die, but I don't know what's going to happen today. That's my point. Yeah. So Moses and Joshua went and presented themselves in the tabernacle of meeting. And the Lord appeared at the tabernacle in a pillar of cloud, and a pillar of cloud stood above the door of the tabernacle. My guess is, and this is my guess, that Moses' heart rate has increased. He's been here before at the tabernacle, and God's met with him. But that pronouncement just moments ago, or hours ago, however it was. And the Lord said unto Moses, behold, you will rest with your fathers, and this people will rise and play the harlot with the gods of foreigners in the land, and they will go and be among them, and they will forsake me and break my covenant which I have made with them. So God's not letting Moses off the hook here. He comes in and he says, you're going to die and be with your brethren, those who have gone on before you, your fathers. But I want you to know that the people are going to rise and play the harlot. They're going to serve other gods, foreigners in the land. They'll go and be among them. They will forsake me and break my covenant, which I have made with them. Why did God tell this to Moses? Don't we usually try to give good news to people who are dying? So that their last and final thoughts are happy thoughts and good thoughts. We usually gather family around and we tell mom or dad or whoever it is how much we love them and how much they did for us and how much we appreciate. I mean, why would you say all that? Why would God say all this to Moses? Okay, yeah, because it's not just for Moses, but it's going to go to Joshua and it's going to go to the people of Israel as a warning for them. Sandra, okay, could be as well. Yeah, I mean that he's letting Moses know. I mean, there's one sense, just be my guess, one sense in which Moses would say, I'm glad I don't have to go through this again. Or I don't have to go through any more of this. I mean, there could be that sense among him to say, it wasn't just me. It wasn't just my leadership. Because even after I'm gone, what? They're going to nosedive, okay? They're going to do exactly what they've been doing all along. And so he says, God says, verse 17, then my anger will be aroused against them in that day when I will forsake them and I'll hide my face from them, and they shall be devoured. And many evils and troubles shall befall them, so that they will say in that day, have not these evils come upon us because our God is not among us? And I will surely hide my face in that day because of all the evil which they have done, in that they have turned to other gods. Do you think Moses is happy to get this news? No, he's not happy. I mean, this is my people. Remember, he was willing to stand in their place. Just take me out, Lord. I mean, this has got to be heartbreaking news for Moses to hear. After you die, the people are going to play the harlot. I'm going to leave them, and they're going to know that I left them. Now, therefore, write down this song for yourselves and teach it to the children of Israel. Put it in their mouths, that this song may be a witness for me against the children of Israel when I have brought them to the land flowing with milk and honey, of which I swore to their fathers, and they have eaten and filled themselves and grown fat, and they will turn to other gods and serve them, and they will provoke me and break my covenant. Then it shall be that when many evils and troubles have come upon them, that this song will testify against them as a witness, for it will not be forgotten in the mouths of the descendants. For I know the inclination of their behavior today, even before I brought them to the land which I swore to give unto them. Therefore Moses wrote this song the same day and taught it to the children of Israel. Then he inaugurated Joshua the son of Nun and said, be strong and of good courage, for you shall bring the children of Israel into the land which I swore to them, and I will be with you. So, why write a song? Edwin, why write a song? Okay, it's exactly right. It comes to your memory much easier. How many of you have been driving down the road, you got your radio on in your car, you haven't heard this song maybe in 30 years, and it starts to play, and you what? You can sing right along with this. Why is that? The melody, the words, everything, it just has a way of sticking with us. Why do we teach little children little songs about that? It's because it sticks in their mind. It's the repetition of the melody and the words. So Moses, write this song, not so it's this is a happy song. No, so that when they sin, they will remember. This will be a testimony against them for what they've done. So, verse 24, and as you read this, is Moses treading a little close to being high-minded or arrogant here? So it was that when Moses had commanded the writing of the words of the book, when he was finished, that Moses commanded the Levites who bore the ark of the covenant of the Lord, saying, take this book of the law and put it beside the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God, that it may be there as a witness against you. For I know your rebellion and your stiff neck. If today, while I was yet alive with you, you have been rebellious against the Lord, then how much more after my death? Does Moses sound like it? Maybe he's getting a little close here to a sound of arrogance. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't think he's sounding arrogant here. I think he's relating what God had just told him. That after your death, they're going to go serve other gods, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. And so Moses is telling them in essence, like, look, I know if you're going to do this now, you're going to do it later, it's going to happen. These things are going to be the case. So look at what he goes on to say, verse 28, gather to me all the elders of your tribes and your officers, that I may speak these words in their hearing, and call heaven and earth to witness against them. For I know that after my death you will become utterly corrupt and turn aside from the way which I commanded you. And evil will befall you in the latter days, because you will do evil in the sight of the Lord to provoke him to anger through the work of your hand. So Moses isn't saying, I know all this because I am such a great leader. He's saying, I know this because God's told me all of this. You're going to turn away. And I mean, that must have been heartbreaking for Moses to pass this information along. Don't you think Moses would have been a whole lot happier if God had said, Moses, after you die, Joshua's going to take him into the land and they're finally going to get it. They're going to do the right things. They're going to follow the law. And you have done a great job in mentoring Joshua, and he'll be this fantastic leader. I mean, I would think that Moses would have said, wow, that's great. Now, Joshua is a great leader, but to have a great program, as it were, a leader can't do it. You still have to have followers. And so the followers are not willing to go along with God all the way. They'll do some as long as the blessings are there. So Moses then has this song and final blessing in chapters 32 and 33. I'm not going to take all the time to go through that, but I want you to drop down in chapter 32, verse 48. We'll let Edwin teach you the song of Moses, and he can lead us in that song. Just write a melody before next week, okay? All 4 parts. Drop down, as I say, to verse 48, Deuteronomy 32. Then the Lord spoke to Moses the very same day, saying, go up this mountain of the Abarim, Mount Nebo, which is in the land of Moab, across from Jericho. View the land of Canaan, which I give to the children of Israel as a possession, and die on the mountain which you ascend to be gathered to your people, just as Aaron your brother died on Mount Hor and was gathered to his people. Because you trespassed against me among the children of Israel at the waters of Meribah, Kadesh, in the wilderness of Zin, because you did not hallow me in the midst of the children of Israel. Yet you shall see the land before you, though you shall not go into the land which I am giving to the children of Israel. I think this is for me, it's just a very sad, melancholy kind of moment. Moses wants you to ascend Mount Nebo, but God tells him again, if I'm not mistaken, this is at least the 3rd time that God has told him, you're not going to go in and possess the land because you didn't hallow me. Go into the land, go up on the mountain, and there you're going to die. So if he had fear before at the tabernacle when God came down, or if it had fear at these other moments, I would think that the fear is really certainly here now. Climb the mountain and you're going to die up on this mountain. So Moses goes up on Mount Nebo, chapter 34. When Moses went up from the plains of Moab to Mount Nebo to the top of Pisgah, which is across from Jericho, and the Lord showed him all the land of Gilead as far as Dan, all Naphtali, and the land of Ephraim and Manasseh, all the land of Judah as far as the western sea, the south, and the plain of the valley of Jericho, the city of palm trees as far as Zoar. Then the Lord said unto him, This is the land which I swore to give Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, saying, I will give it to your descendants. I've caused you to see it with your eyes, but you shall not cross over there. So in the opening of chapter 34, Moses now climbs up the mountain, and he's up there with God, and God gives him a view of the land. I think there's a miraculous aspect to this, that he's able to see as far as he's able to see, God showing him the whole land. But notice it says, all the land of Dan and Naphtali, the land of Ephraim and Manasseh, all the land of Judah as far as the western sea, the south, and so on. How is he able to identify these territorial spots that haven't been figured yet? How can he see all of Dan and Naphtali and Manasseh when Dan and Naphtali and Manasseh haven't gone in and settled the land yet? Well, it's by God's power, but how does he know it's the land of Dan and Naphtali and Manasseh? I'm sorry, what? It's part of the plan, did you say? Okay, God doesn't lie, but it's written afterward. It's the only point that I'm making. This is the land that Dan and Naphtali and Manasseh and all of them settled. But when Moses goes up on the mountain, on Mount Nebo, he's able to look over it. He's able to see the land, okay, from sea to shining sea, we might say, as far as our country is concerned. So he's able to see the western sea, he's able to see Dan and Naphtali and Manasseh, the areas, all the way down to the Negev or the south. He's able to look at all of this land. So what great blessing is afforded to him at this point? I think it is that he gets to see all of it. But was that hard for Moses to see that? I don't know. It is a reward in a sense, I would say, sure, that he gets to see the land. But again, God says, but you're not going over. You're not going to cross over. Richard? Okay. Okay, yeah, I would agree to accept that. Last week we talked about where Moses did argue with God about going into the land, and God finally cut him off, said, enough. I've heard enough of this. So, Moses wanted to go in. Moses wanted to finish the job. Moses wanted to do all, but still, I think there is a resignation in the sense of his calmness or peace, or we might say trust in God, that God's going to do the right thing. And of course, Moses has no way to argue this point and say, well, yeah, but Lord, he doesn't do that. He just wants to go in and see and possess the land. Yeah, well, he was on the other side, but some of Manasseh does go over. So there's. But God gives him this view of the land, what that has been afforded to him. And so Moses, the servant of the Lord, verse 5, died there in the land of Moab according to the word of the Lord. And this next verse to me, it's always so impressive. And he buried him in the valley in the land of Moab opposite Beth Peor, who buried him? God buried him. This is a very private funeral. It is God and Moses. As Richard said, this one who's walked hand in hand with God. Yeah, he had his ups and downs, but he's been right there with God. And he sees this land, the vastness of all of the beautiful promise that God had made. And now it's time for him to die. And God buries Moses. To me, that's just the most beautiful, touching scene. And it says, he buried in the land of Moab, opposite Beth Peor, but no one knows his grave to this day. So God buries Moses in a secret, private place. Moses was 120 years old when he died. His eyes were not dim, nor his natural vigor diminished. And the children of Israel wept for Moses in the plains of Moab for 30 days. And so the days of weeping and mourning for Moses had ended. Do you remember anything else about the body of Moses? Okay, yeah. There is an argument that comes up later on in the spiritual realm that we don't know about, other than the devil arguing with the angels about the body of Moses. And there is this back and forth. Now, why would he want the body of Moses? Why would the devil want the body of Moses, or where the body of Moses is? What could you think might happen? What? Okay, yeah, he could see it as a trophy. What else might the devil do with the body of Moses? What might the Israelites do with the body of Moses? Idolize this. Can you imagine? I mean, how the devil could use that? This is the body of Moses, and the Israelites, oh, he was our leader. He was hallowed him and idolized this body. Edwin? Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, that Peter says, hey, we could build a tabernacle for each one. Okay, yeah, I mean, and that would be greatly intensified if you had the body of this, or the possibility of this. And so this very private funeral, I mean, it just, to me, it's just such a beautiful, touching scene. I don't want to try to overwork it or whatever. That's what we just said, yes, Jude 9. So, verse 9. Now Joshua the son of Nun was full of the spirit of wisdom, for Moses had laid his hands on him, so the children of Israel heeded him and did as the Lord had commanded Moses. I asked the question in your book here, how do you think Joshua feels at this time? What'd you say, Andrew? Overwhelmed, okay. I mean, I'm feeling, yikes, I've got this job now. I mean, Moses, my mentor, God's hand-in-hand man, has just died. And there's no question about who the leader is, right? No, God said Joshua is the man. Joshua has been appointed by Moses. Joshua stood before the people of Israel. You're the man now, okay? You're the one. What in the world do I have now as in front of me with this stiff-necked, stubborn people who are going to rebel against God? And I've got to be their leader. Yay me, you know. That doesn't sound all that exciting of a job. Joshua the son of Nun, though, was full of the spirit of wisdom, and says at verse 10, but There's not arisen in Israel a prophet like Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face, and all the signs and wonders which the Lord sent him to do in the land of Egypt, before Pharaoh, before all the servants, and in all of his land, and by all that mighty power and all the great terror which Moses performed in the sight of all of Israel. So Moses is a great leader. Moses is a great prophet. Moses stands head and shoulder. We're right in looking at him as a great man, as a great leader. And that's what the compliment, there's never been one like him who's come and walked and lived in this way. And so Moses, even though he has his faults, as we've looked, he stands head and shoulders above all, it says. So turn to chapter 1. Just turn the page, look at Joshua chapter 1. All right, Joshua, you're the man. After the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord, it came to pass that the Lord spoke to Joshua, the son of Nun, Moses' assistant, saying, Moses, my servant, is dead. Now therefore, arise, go over this Jordan, you and all the people of the land which I am giving to them, the children of Israel. So Joshua doesn't get a break here, right? I mean, he doesn't get to kind of ease his way into this role of leadership. 30 days of mourning for Moses are over. All right, Joshua, get up, cross over the land, go take Israel in. Verse 3. Every place that the sole of your foot will tread upon, I have given to you, as I said to Moses, from the wilderness and this Lebanon as far as the great river, the river Euphrates, all the land of the Hittites, the great sea toward the going down of the sun shall be your territory. No man, verse 5, shall be able to stand before you all the days of your life. As I was with Moses, so will I be with you. I will not leave you or forsake you. I would have to think that would be wonderful relief for Joshua. I will be with you like I was with Moses. Whew, okay, great. Because God was with Moses in a mighty way over and over and over again. So, Joshua, you go into the land, every place the sole of your foot treads upon, it's yours. I will fulfill my law, my word, just as I said that I would do. I'm going to give all of the land as I promised. Be strong now, verse 6, and of good courage, for this people you shall divide as an inheritance the land which I swore to their fathers to give to them. Only be strong and very courageous, that you may observe to do according to all the law which Moses my servant commanded you. Do not turn from it to the right hand or to the left, that you may prosper wherever you go. This book of the law shall not depart from your mouth, but you shall meditate on it day and night, that you may observe to do according to all that is written in it. For then you will make your way prosperous, and then you will have good success. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and of good courage. Do not be afraid, nor be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Would there be reason without this promise to be fearful of going in to do what he's about to do? Absolutely. To lead this nation in to dispossess another people and kick them out of the land. I'm going to give you all this land. You're going to go in, but God says, I will be with you, and I will take care of you, will you? Right. That's right. It's the same land that 40 years ago, we can't go in there. They got giants there. They have fortified cities there. It's a great land, but we just can't do it. And now, Joshua, you go in, take these people in, and lead them in. So why does he need strength and courage? Huh? Okay, the people he's leading and the people he's trying to kick out. I mean, he's got it on both sides, in front of him and behind him. It really is. I mean, this is a major task in front of him. Militarily go in and dispossess all of those people with those rockheads that you've got following you, okay? I mean, that's really what he's got in front of him. So, Yes, ma'am. What? I don't understand your question. Why is he not what? Oh, you shouldn't let it leave. You should meditate on it day and night. I don't think he means don't say anything about it. Yeah, I'm sorry. I understand your question now. Yeah. What he's saying is don't let it leave you. Don't leave off on the law. You meditate on it day and night. Let it be your director in everything that you do, and let it guide you in all of this. So I asked this question. When considering success in any venture of life, let me ask this question this way first. Is this the recipe for success? Be strong and be courageous because you're going to be successful? Okay, if God's on my side. But it doesn't mean, and this verse has been lifted out of its context, is why I bring this up. And some say, well, just be strong and courageous and you'll be successful in anything you do. No, you might go bankrupt. You might kill yourself. You might do any number of things if you're strong and bold and courageous, but stupid. So you have to do what God wants you to do. Go ahead, Mark. Right. That's exactly right. So Joshua, be strong and courageous, but don't leave the law. Don't leave off on it. Don't you meditate on it day and night. Follow this law absolutely and completely. So look at verse 10. We're almost done. Then Joshua commanded all of the officers of the people, saying, pass through the camp and command the people, saying, prepare provisions for yourselves, for within 3 days you will cross over this Jordan to go in and possess the land which the Lord your God is giving you to possess. Now, I would think because some of the people, this is a nation of people. I'm just going to put my think so in here. I think some of the people are excited to go over. And they are what we might say, they're just anxious. They're chomping at the bit. They're ready to go. You've seen this sometimes before, like a football game or a basketball game or whatever. The coach gets the team together and you see the guy, they're just excited. They're ready to go. They're ready to go. They want to get this thing going. But there's also probably some people, we're about to go into the land of the giants, as William said. This is big. This is going to be big and scary in some other respects. So Joshua knows something that it took Moses a while to recognize. It was taught to him by Jethro. What does Joshua know? From verses 10 and 11. Huh? Okay, yeah, he knows he needs helpers. So he has his officers and leaders go out. You go tell all the people. Back in the early days, it'd be Moses saying, I've got to tell everybody. He's got, now you go out and tell the people, muster the people, get them ready. In 3 days, we're going to go and do this. And then in verses 12 through 15, he's going to remind the half tribe of the Transjordanic tribes of their commitment. Remember, when Moses let you keep this land that you promised you would go in with us, they say, what? Yes, we'll go. Okay, we will go. We will go and fight with you. And then verses 16 and forward. So they answered and said to Moses, to Joshua, all that you command us we will do, and wherever you send us we will go. Just as we heeded Moses in all things, so we will heed you. And I'm thinking, no, please. Don't treat me like that. Can't you see Joshua thinking that? We will follow you just like we followed Moses. No, follow me better than you followed Moses. But they make a promise. And realistically, they keep that part of the promise. Only the Lord your God will be with you as he was with Moses. So whoever rebels against your command and does not heed your words, and all that you commanded him shall be put to death. Only be strong and of good courage. So Joshua gives the same marching orders that Moses had given to him, be strong and courageous. The same marching orders that God had given to him, be strong and courageous. Joshua now passes that same word on to the people. You be strong and courageous. Don't fail. Go in and do this. And the best news of all of it is what? God's in control. We've got this thing. All we have to do is do what God told us, and the land is ours. Now, isn't that the same principle for us? As long as we do what God tells us to do, that the promises that He makes, that they are ours? Yeah, it's the same exact principle. Dane? Right. Okay, that's exactly right. And it's the same promise that's afforded to us in reality. The promised land is ours if we will be faithful to God. Now, let me ask this question. Did Moses get to go to the promised land? Yes, he went to the promised land. Not to the promised land of Canaan, but he went to the promised land. He got to view the land of Canaan, and then God brought him home. Okay, so don't ever get this mistaken notion that he didn't get to go to the promised land. He did. He got to go to the promised land, the same one you can go to and I can go to. All right, thanks. That's it for today. Lesson number 12 next week, and then we will, we just have 2 more lessons this time. We'll wrap it up.